After the tournament, there is a celebration that is held in Jazal's honor to congratulate him for winning the tournament. And Logan and Bayaz are in attendance. Members of the Inquisition, the Closed Council, and other governmental members of the government and nobles are at this celebration. During the party, Arch-Lector Sult, who is the head honcho of the Inquisition, decides that this is a good time to call out Bayaz because he doesn't believe that Bayaz is who he says he is. He's not the first Magi, and he calls him out publicly to show everybody that he is not who he says he is. The Arch-Lector asks Bayaz to, with magic, break one of the tables because the Bayaz of the past had done that. Bayaz says no, and instead says that he will enter and unlock the House of the Maker, which until this point and in its history had been locked up, and nobody has been able to get into the house. And he pulls out a key, which is just this long rod, and Bayaz says that this is the key to the House of the Maker, and he'll go and open it up to prove that he is who he says he is. He goes to the House of the Maker, and he takes with him Glatka, Jazal, Logan, and someone else from the Inquisition. So the group goes to the House of the Maker, and Bayaz makes good on his promise, and he is able to unlock the door, and they enter. The group can feel that there's something is off about the House of the Maker. That's described as feeling like walking into a coffin. There seems to be a connection with the House of the Maker and the magic of the world. We also see that the House of the Maker doesn't follow the same physics as the rest of the world. At one point through their journey through the house, they find themselves much higher up over the city itself, the city being Adwa, and they're looking down and seeing all the buildings and everything looks small. But then Glatka remarks that, does anybody remember going up any steps? We didn't go up any steps. How are we, never mind being this high up, how are we any higher up if we didn't use steps? As the group makes their way through the Maker's house, Bayaz tells a story about the Maker himself and reveals that the Shanka in the world, the creatures, the human-like creatures that attacked Logan in the beginning of the book, were actually created by the Maker himself to fight in the war that occurred before the forming of the Union. A little bit later on, they then come across something else. Something that Bayaz describes as a terrible weapon that seemingly no earthly weapons can fight against. The Maker used it to kill his brother, and this weapon can touch both the natural world and the other side. There's also a small metal box there that Bayaz has Logan take with them, and all he says about it is that it's used to protect the world from its contents, and Logan asks, well, what's in it? And Bayaz said nothing yet. From there, they proceed further through the Maker's house, and Bayaz tells another story about how the Maker threw his daughter out of the window, and how the Maker and Bayaz fought each other. Bayaz eventually won and threw him out of the window. After telling the story, Bayaz suggests that the group should leave the house, and they all make their way out. Next, we have a point of view chapter from Column West. He is attending to some duties, and after he finishes those, he heads back to his quarters that he is now sharing with Artie. And Upon opening the door and entering, he sees Artie there alone, and she's been drinking again, and they start having a discussion. And throughout the discussion, Colum sees Artie with a slip of paper, and he asks her, "What is that?" And she says nothing, and she tries to hide it. And Colum snatches the piece of paper out of her hands and reads it. Ends up it being a note that she had planned to give Giselle Luther about their next meeting, or trying to arrange another meeting with him. He snatches the note away from her, reads it, and it is a note for Giselle arranging their next meeting. And Colum, he had known about the rumors about Giselle and Artie, but this is the first time that he's had real hard evidence, and it all comes crashing down on him. Colum completely loses his temper, and he starts beating Artie. He punches her several times. He chokes her, grabs her by the neck and chokes her, slams her head into the wall, and all the while is berating her with insults. And eventually he does get a hold of himself and stops. But instead of immediately running away, Artie has a conversation with Colum, and it involves their father and how he would beat Artie, and how she was so happy the day that he died. She pissed on his grave, which is understandable from the perspective of someone who was abused by their parent, like she was. And it's just a really sad and heartbreaking moment, because she always viewed her brother as her protector. There was one particularly heartbreaking passage in here that I wanted to share that moved me, at least. This is Artie. She wiped the blood from her nose on the back of her hand. "You should have seen how happy I was when you sent for me. I read the letter over and over. The pathetic little dreams all came alive again. Hope, eh? What a fucking curse. Off to live with my brother, my protector. He'll look out for me. He'll help me. Now, baby, I can have a life. But I find you different than I remembered. All grown up. First you ignore me, then you lecture me, then you hit me, and now you're sorry. You're truly your father's son." And after that, Artie leaves and slams the door in his face. So a character that I haven't discussed yet, that was introduced a little bit earlier than these events, is Pharaoh Malgin. We initially meet her when she is just finishing up a fight, and she is burying her dead allies, and she is encountered by another magi named Yulwei. And Yulwei lets Pharaoh know that he has plans for her, or she is meant for some other purpose, and he wants to take her to Adwa. She's initially hesitant, but then agrees. Along their trip to Adwa, she attempts to flee from Yulwei, and she succeeds. A short time after separating from Yulwei, she is attacked, and she's attacked by what we know now are Eaters. And Eaters appear to be evil magic users. I don't know if there's a better way to describe them than that. They look like humans, but they don't move like them. They can use magic, and Pharaoh finds it impossible to lay a hand on them, to hit them, and she is attacked by them and quickly overpowered. After being saved by Yulwei, Pharaoh realizes that in order to get to Adwa, she will need Yulwei's help, and agrees again to travel with him to Adwa. We also learned that Pharaoh is Gurkish herself. That's where she's from. And she hates the Gurkish because they enslaved her. She was able to break away from that slavery, and now she wants vengeance for enslaving her. So at this point, all of our major characters are gathering in Adwa, and Bayaz is going to be taking them south. So we have Logan, Jazal, Maljan, the Navigator, and Kwai. Now, I haven't mentioned the Navigator. He doesn't really seem to be doing anything important, so I didn't feel it was important to mention him. Basically, he's making all the logistical arrangements to have everyone travel from Adwa to the south. It's also important to note that Jazal was originally going to go to Anglin to fight against Bethid, but Bayaz spoke with his superiors, and now he is being sent with Bayaz to travel with the rest of the group south. Also, another note on Jazal is before he meets up with Bayaz and the others to go on that trip, he does have a final meeting with Artie, where he divulges his feelings for her, tells her that he loves her. She doesn't reciprocate with those exact words, but does tell him that she'll wait for him to come back from this trip. And that seems to be good enough for him. So now we are with all of our major characters, Bayaz, Jazal, Logan, Maljan, the Navigator, and Kwai, and they're all preparing to leave to go south. But Maljan is missing, and Bayaz is getting impatient, so Logan takes it upon himself to go look for her. Eventually, Logan does track down Pharaoh, and when he does, she is about to be attacked by assailants wearing masks, and we know that they are from the Inquisition. And Logan goes to help her, and they get into a fight with these people. They end up beating a couple of them, and more start coming, so they run, and eventually they come to a small storage room where they lock themselves in. Eventually, the people who are following them do break into the storage room, and Logan and Pharaoh get into a fight with these masked assailants, and they start losing the fight. And just when it seems that Logan is going to die, he enters this trance-like state that we haven't seen before, and it seems to be like a Jekyll and Hyde type situation, where the Jekyll part is Logan, who we have been following this entire series up until this point, and now we are meeting the Hyde part of his personality. And his Hyde is called the Bloody Nine. When he becomes the Bloody Nine, he stops feeling pain. He has a almost blind rage and thirst for blood and killing, and he begins killing all of the assailants in the room one by one, and the Bloody Nine is enjoying every second of it. He does take a pretty bad wound to the shoulder, but in this trance-like state, it seems like he doesn't even notice it. And at one point, he's killed all the assailants, and then he starts to go after Pharaoh because he is in such a blood frenzy. And before he attacks her, though, he snaps out of this trance. Once out of this trance, all of the fatigue, the injuries, and his wounds that he has sustained throughout this whole ordeal come crashing down on him all at once, and he falls to the ground. Pharaoh helps him up, and they escape back to the group where Bayaz and the others are. Once Pharaoh and Logan make it back to the group, they are actually still being pursued by some Inquisitors who come into the room and try to arrest them. When this happens, Bayaz is in the other room, and he comes in and he lets the Inquisitors know that they won't be arresting Logan, and the Inquisitors insist that they are, and Bayaz ends up blowing up one of the Inquisitors just seemingly out of nowhere. The Inquisitor explodes like a watermelon hitting the pavement. Blood and guts get everywhere on everybody in the room, and the other Inquisitors take this as a good sign that they should leave and do. From here, the party with Logan, Pharaoh, Bayaz, and Jezal begin to head south. The only main character that isn't included in this is Gladka. He is sent to Dagoska, which is currently about to be invaded by the Gurkish. The superior inquisitor there has disappeared, and Archlector Sult is sending him there as the new superior with full powers of the entire close council and the king to set things right there, to figure out where the now missing superior went, to prepare for the conflict with the Gurkish, and to root out any traitorous plots against the Union. And that's it. That is where the Blade itself ends. I really enjoyed this one. It is dark and gritty, and I was engaged the entire way through. I don't remember there ever being a point where I was bored or disinterested in any way. It was fast-paced and interesting, and I loved the entire journey the whole way through. I would absolutely recommend picking up this book if you enjoy fantasy, if you enjoy the grim dark genre of fantasy, if you enjoyed Game of Thrones. It reminded me a lot about that, but the world is much smaller at this point. I don't think it's going to get as big as Game of Thrones or some other epic fantasies, but I enjoyed the length of this book. I didn't feel like there was any wasted words, or like the author was trying to fill up just page time. I've gotten that sense from a couple other series, but definitely not with this one. I am very much looking forward to the next book, which I have actually already started. Hoping to finish that one in the next couple of days. I don't think it'll take me very long. I imagine that I will have a review video for it out this weekend. I decided not to do the rating thing that I said I was going to do at the beginning of this review. I don't want to be pigeonholed from video to video, having to compare my rating or my grades, as you could look at it. I'd like to just be less constrained, and not doing ratings I think will give me that. Maybe I'll revisit this in the future. Okay, and that wraps it up. If you've made it the whole way through, thank you for watching. I don't think at this point I have any right to ask for a like or subscribe, because I don't feel this review was very good, but I do hope, and I absolutely plan on working to make future videos much better than this one. Leave a comment, let me know what I did well, what I didn't do well, which I'm sure there is a lot to unpack there. But yeah, just let me know. Thanks for watching.